A new study at the University of Arizona provides data about how the fence at the U.S. Mexico border might affect local wildlife populations.
You know, the paper is not really a policy paper, it's a science paper. We had originally set out to look at the effects of roadways on movements by pygmy owls, as requested by the Department of Transportation in Arizona. What's interesting is most of the wildlife in our region, because Arizona is so varied, habitat tends to really be fragmented for lots of different species. And so animals need to be able to move among existing habitat patches to reoccupy them should they go locally extinct. And if they can't do that, then you potentially have large areas of suitable but unoccupied habitat where populations have just winked out and there's no immigration back into them. So things like bighorn sheep, deer, mountain lions, bear, they're going to be physically excluded from crossing a solid fence. The pygmy owl is a good example because, you know, most people think a bird is just going to fly up over a wall because they have wings. Pygmy owls actually are relegated to fairly dense stands of vegetation, and they oftentimes avoid large vegetation gaps. So they'll tend to stick and stay in dense cover and not cross big swaths of open country. The other thing is that pygmy owls tend to fly really low. Flight height ranged from 0.1 to 12 meters above ground, but only 23% of the flights were greater than 4 meters, which is the rough, approximate height of transboundary fences. So a pygmy owl will, be perched in a mesquite tree, maybe 2-3 meters off the ground, and if it wants to get to the next mesquite tree 20 or 30 meters away, it'll drop out of that tree and fly just oftentimes a couple decimeters above the ground, and then swoop back up and land in another tree. So they tend to fly low and stay out of the air column. We wanted people to think about some of these alternative high technology solutions for doing two things at once. One is to track people and to understand how people are moving. So if the government decides they can interdict them and enforce the immigration laws. But we wanted to brainstorm up some ways that they could do that without precluding natural movement of wildlife. So how can we do those two things at the same time that seem sort of mutually exclusive, but they might not be